Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, I've come out to the shooting range today and I want to talk to you about, well, kind of like another fantasy gun. If you don't remember, I'll put the link up here to a video I did a while back talking about a gun I'd like to have, a dream gun. And in it, it is how Colt made the prototype for the 1860 Army. Now what they did was, or rather the guys in the shop, was they took a 51 Navy like this. They rounded the barrel and rounded over the top. They cut the frame down and then they created a cylinder from scratch that was rebated, meaning it was thicker at the front where you could put a bigger caliber in there. And rifled it for 44 caliber and made the 44 caliber prototype belt gun. Now where Colt was going with this was because, a little quick background, Colt had had real success with the Dragoons and the Walkers. That was his military gun, the big 44 caliber. His big money maker was the little 31 caliber pocket guns, the 49 pocket model and etc. and the baby Dragoons. Those were something you could easily conceal into a pocket and stuff like that, and for that day and time that was the defensive gun. Okay. And so he wanted something between the two of them, and remembering the success of the Patterson, and the big bore in the Patterson was the 36 caliber, okay, he had came up with a 51 Navy. So this was the belt gun, okay. Now, right before the Civil War, 59 or so, this is like 8 or 9 years after he came up with the 51 Navy, he wanted to know, could he take the 44 caliber Dragoon caliber, 44 caliber, which he had refined up to the 3rd model Dragoon, and drop down the weight. Could he make a cylinder that would have close to the same powder capacity? At this time, the issue was a 40 grain charge. It had been a 60 grain charge in the Walker. It dropped down to 50, and by this point it was 40 grains. Well, could I get that into a belt gun? Could I lean it and slim it down and everything? And so that's where he came up with the 1860 Army, which was taking the 51 Navy frame and size and balance, but turning it into a 44 caliber bore, using that Dragoon bore into it. And he still had that, what we call the, you see underneath there, there's like a drop right there. And you can see on this fluted cylinder that the front of the cylinder is actually bigger than the back of the cylinder because it flares out. On the later models, after he got rid of this fluted cylinder, you can really see that rebated ring that's called the bigger section. And thus, we had the 1860 Army and that line. So, what am I wanting as a fantasy gun? Well, remember in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, when Tuco goes into the gunsmith's shop, and he takes all the revolvers out on the thing and he starts mixing and matching parts, and he puts this on and he puts that on, looks down this barrel and that cylinder and blah 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 and that action, and he puts together this gun, which is actually 51 Navy, I think, and he puts it all together and it's like he's interchanging parts. Well, in real life that wouldn't work because all them parts are different sizes and shapes. But I remember seeing that movie in the 60s and it kind of sparking an interest, could you do that? Well, here in modern times, today, with our modern replicas, and this is a 61 Navy, and this is an 1860 Army. They use the same barrel blanks, the same frames, the same everything. The only difference is the 60 Army's got the rebated frame for that big cylinder, and the 61 does not. It has the standard 51 Navy. In fact, the difference between the 51 Navy and the 61 Navy is the barrel. They made this fluid flowing barrel. So, looking through the Dixie Gun Works catalog in the past years, I began to notice that you'd go to order a replacement cylinder for, say, a 51 Navy, and the part number for a unroll engraved 51 Navy and a unroll engraved 61 Navy was the same part number. That means it's the same part. The roll engraved 51 Navy and the roll engraved 61 Navy was the same part. So I got to thinking. If I took an 1860 Army frame, and the big difference that you can tell between the frames are the same, the difference is in the grips. Okay, let me line it up. The grip on the 1860 Army on this side is a little bit longer than the 51 Navy and the 61 Navy. In fact, it's the 61 and the 51 Navy is the same grip that goes on to the single action Army. Same grip frame. I know this because I have taken single action Armies and put 1860 Army grips onto it. You can find this in Keith and Skeeter Skelton and several others that shot single actions a lot back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they would put 60 Army grips onto single action Armies because they had big hands and it fit their hand better. So they'd change out the grips. So if I started out with a 1860 Army like this from Uberti, we got to stay in the same family. Okay, I don't know if this is true in all the guns, and that's why I'm going to need your help, because you guys got collections that I don't have. Let's see what parts interchangeability there is. Because if I take the barrel off an 1860, and I take the barrel off of a 61 Navy, and both of these are Ubertis. Okay, this is an 1860, this is a 61 Navy. And if you put them side and side, you can see the difference. See how the forcing cone of the 1861 is longer than the 1860 Army? It's taking up the gap difference between this and this. But besides that, it's the same barrel. It's just how thick the walls is. So the modern manufacturer is starting with the 1860 Army, and he's just chambering it in 36 to make this, and he makes that longer forcing cone. Now my 1860 Army, taking off the cylinder, taking the 1861 Navy cylinder, and it slides right on. Same size base pin. Now, putting the hammer down, cock it, and it locks in place. And it's lined up. So that 36 caliber cylinder on this 1860 Army, the only difference is that gap that's left right there. Okay? Now let's take the 1861 36 caliber and put onto it. There is a slight difference, but not a lot. But I can look through the hole and my wedge pin would line up and go in. I can see it straight through. There is a slight difference here on the end of the frame, but not by much. But it is there. And it will cock an index into position right there. In fact, I could put that wedge in and it would be okay. So that would mean I could take a 1860 Army and with a little fitting, okay? That's the magic word here. You're going to have to fit a little. What it is this one lines up, but there is a slight gap. The pins have started. They're into the base of the barrel, but there's a gap there, quarter of the thickness of a dime. It's something you can run a fingernail through. But I could take and put a wedge in there and hold it in place. So if I had a 60 Army, and that's what this is, With a little modification, I could put a 51 Navy cylinder, a 61 Navy cylinder. How about an 1851 Navy barrel? How about the 44 caliber 1851 Navy, which is just an 1860 Army with a square barrel, right? I could put that barrel on there, couldn't I? So here we come to the final part. I'm not saying this is 100% viable. It would be very much a trial fit, step by step. But let's imagine I had a case that I would open up. And I would have a 1860 Army shoulder stock and a long Buffalo Hunter barrel, 44 caliber in that case. I would have a short Sheriff's model, 44 caliber in that case. I would have a snub nose, 44 caliber in that case. I would have a rebated standard 1860 Army cylinder. I would have a fluted 1860 Army cylinder. I would have an 1860 Army cartridge conversion to 45 Colt cylinder. I would have a 51 Navy square 44 caliber barrel, a 51 Navy standard 36 caliber barrel, a 1861 Navy barrel. I would have a 1851 Navy cylinder and a 51 Navy cartridge conversion cylinder. I would have a grip frame for a 51 Navy and the bird's head grip for the single action Army. All of that in that case. So depending on whether I wanted to open this case up and assemble components and have a revolving carbine, or whether I wanted a stubby little belly gun, or I wanted a 36 caliber, or I wanted a 44 caliber. Just how I put the parts on. See what I'm saying? You can't interchange Pieta and Uberti because the base pins are slightly different. But both of these guns are Uberti and the base pins are the same. You would have to use an 1860 Army frame for the bigger cylinder of the 44. All the 36s would fit it with a little bit of fitting. So like we were talking about with that 61 Navy up there, if I was to add a little shim right there at that base so that it fully fitted to the frame, that's the only modification I believe I'd need to do. I'd have to make sure of head space and nothing was dragging. But it would work. So, in conclusion, if you have some of these guns, I'm not asking you to fire it. Do not fire that way. But do a test fit and see if it kind of goes together. See if you, those of you that's got the 44 caliber of a 51 Navy, we know it's the same cylinder and same frame as the 60 Army. See if a standard 1860 Army barrel will fit on there where, yeah, if you did this, you deepen this hole a little bit or whatever. That's all we need to know. Because then, if I started with the 1860 Army, and I just started looking for parts. Now, some of them parts, this kit would be, whoo, guys, it's a dream, okay? Some of them barrels are $150, $200 by themselves. But if you could contact Dixie Gun Works, Taylor & Company, Uberti USA, etc., and say, hey, I'm looking for one of them long Buffalo Hunter barrels, the 44 caliber that went on to the 51 Navy. Could I get one of them? Could I have got one that's got the rifle sights on it? The shoulder stock that fits 1860 Army. Yeah? You know that little short little barrel you got? Or being able to afford to buy a barrel and bob it to make the little Sheriff's storekeeper, snub-nosed, bird's head grip. All of that technically is possible. But all we got to know is what parts interchange. Sorry guys, I got skeeters swarming me. So if you have that and give it a try, put it in the comments down there. Let me know what will fit on yours. Like I said, don't fire nothing. Okay? I'm not asking you to fire anything. I'm just asking you to see if the parts fit. And let's see if we can figure out what all could be assembled in this fantasy box. You know, like an old Stoner 63, depending on how you put the stuff together is what kind of gun you had, from a belt-fed light machine gun to an assault rifle was how you put the parts together, and whether it was this way or that way. Well, could we do that with a could we do that with a cap and ball revolver and have a fantasy set that would give you all the advantages in one action in one gun? If you've enjoyed this video, please leave some comments down there below. Let me know how that you enjoyed it, and let me know that your parts, what might interchange. If you haven't, also hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me to feed the algorithm. And next time we'll get into other components and things very soon. Again, my cap and ball revolver class will be going up the 1st of December. And if you haven't heard about it, I put a link in the beginning of the video about it, just to give you a heads up. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.